I was very ill in the last week or so with just a bad flu of my pregnancy, where I was taken into hospital and stayed in hospital until going into labour. I had Kai early October, the 7th of October, and his sisters were all there. And after he was born, literally within seconds, they gave him to me on my chest, and something didn't feel right. And it was his breathing. And I thought, he doesn't feel right. The doctors and everybody was saying he's fine. And I was like, no, something's not right. So they took him away and they cleared mucus from his nose, etc., and said he's fine. Gave him back to me again. And again, I said, something still doesn't feel right. And they took him away again. And then I just saw like a buzzer ring and doctors running in everywhere. And I was like praying and crying and hysterical, what's going on? Something's not right. Then that's when they came and told me that they're going to have to keep him in. He's going to have to go in an incubator, tell his breathing. And literally after that, being ill, he had a few blood tests, and that's when he was diagnosed that he had a chromosome disorder.
When a sperm fertilises an egg, the first cell of the human body is created. That cell usually contains 23 pairs of chromosomes that carry most of the genetic information needed for a person's physical and intellectual well-being. Sometimes parts of a chromosome or a gene are deleted or duplicated, or they're rearranged in an unusual way at or just after conception. Depending on the specific genes involved, such changes might cause a wide range of physical, intellectual, developmental, or medical challenges.
I'm Winnie Williams. I'm Avaya's grandmother. She's now 8 years old. 8 years ago, was diagnosed with 14 chromosome deletion. Avaya's chromosome has actually resulted in her having no eyes. It's bilateral. She's got, actually, I tell everybody, no eyeballs. That's so much easier. When she was a baby, they tried to see if they could put expanders in her eyes, just so that, you know, the eyes are not so fused, to hope that maybe it will help her structure of the face. And it's easier done when you're a baby. So we went to Morphing's Eye Hospital, I think the third week, when she was 3 weeks. But every time they put the gel expanders in the eye, they were expelled. The body, just rejected it. So they tried again every month, but it wasn't working. And because they would have to hold her, put those gels in the eye and put glue over, and she'd be screaming, obviously not knowing what's going on. And we thought it's for the best. At that point, you don't know whether that's good or bad, but you think, you know what, anything, yeah. But Avaya is globally delayed. Avaya has got epilepsy. When she was born, she had an echo in her heart, and she's got a high palate, which means she has to get crushed food. She cannot process that. She's also non-verbal, and she was born with her feet like so, you know, but now they've been corrected slowly wearing splints. And Avaya really needs one-to-one all the time supervision.
Speech is the most common area of a child's development affected by a chromosome or a single gene disorder. While some children will be late to talk, others will never gain that skill.
I get I love you a lot, don't I?
I think one of the major challenges for me was that Zane has a severe speech delay. So, you know, Zane hasn't been able to tell us so much for many years. And actually that's more of a challenge for him than it is for me, because he was my closest thing, and I could understand him. So, you know, I would do whatever I possibly could to help him, and he was amazing. He helped me back. So we used to do a lot of Macaton. We got into speech therapy when he was about 2.5. We're still doing a lot of speech therapy. He's come an amazingly long way, but you know, stopping and thinking, oh my goodness, what's it like for him who has so much to say but can't communicate that? That's a lot harder for him than it is for me. And I think the only thing that's a major challenge is having him understood by others and letting others know that they need to give him time to express himself. Yeah.
Nearly every cell in the human body carries between 20,000 and 25,000 individual genes strung along the chromosomes. Depending on the part of a chromosome that is deleted, duplicated, or rearranged, different numbers of genes would be affected.
What do I tell people when they say, oh, what's that? I tell them she's got about 62 genes missing. I'm Emma. I'm married to Lee, and we have 2 little girls, Matilda, who's 9, and Tiana, who is 7. She'll be 8 in January. We have to quite often remind Matilda that Tiana can't hold a pen properly enough to write her name, that she doesn't know the alphabet, that she can count to something near 20 on a good day, and that actually she's not capable of doing what Matilda could do a year ago. And it's the same with a lot of things, reminding Matilda and sometimes ourselves that we need to simplify things for her. We need to be specific about what it is we're asking her, or asking her in a particular way, and really listening to how she answers, because when she's tired or she's ill, she doesn't answer verbally, she answers physically. She either withdraws or she gets aggressive. If she hurts herself or she falls over, she lashes out at the nearest person because that's her way of saying, I'm in pain.
Unique is a charity that aims to inform, support, and alleviate the isolation of anyone affected by a rare chromosome or a rare gene disorder.
As a baby, he wasn't that different to other babies because no baby can walk or talk. But as a mum, I had to adapt to being a mother of a non-neurotypical child, and that was definitely isolating and challenging.
My name is Callum, and I'm 14.
I'm Oriel, and I'm Callum's mum, and I work in art education with lots of different people. And through Callum, my work has become more and more focused on inclusion. Callum's chromosome disorder is chromosome 13, deletion Q33/34. And it's a microdeletion that presents with symptoms of, what are some of the symptoms, Callum? Learning difficulties.
Yeah.
Gross and fine motor issues. And we've had some complex medical needs, which has resulted in venous and lymphatic malformation. And Callum's currently on an immune suppressant drug, originally designed for oncology, but they discovered that it can help with his malformation.
And they treated it on mice.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
And which hospital?
Great Ormond Street and Chelsea and Westminster looks after me.
Unique also strives to raise public awareness in the hope of an inclusive society that understands and accommodates the needs of anyone affected by a rare chromosome or a rare gene disorder.
Action!
I think the fact that Dexter does look like a normal little boy is often a bit of a challenge, I suppose, for kind of us as a parent, because I'll quite often get the reaction of, oh, he just looks really normal, or, when you sort of start telling people about, or is, the fact that his ASD diagnosis, like, oh, he doesn't seem autistic is quite a common one. I'm Sarah, and this is Dexter.
How old are you, Dexter?
7. Essentially, his colon doesn't have motility along the whole length, so the end 10 centimetres and the bit that would sort of kind of push out faeces doesn't work properly. So the only way things were coming kind of out was basically his colon being so full that it, so impacted that it had to come out in some way. So that meant his colon was like extremely distended. they decided to give him a stoma so that they could bypass that part that doesn't work and rest the whole kind of extended part of the colon with the hope that it would go back to normal. What's wrong, darling?
I need to go to the toilet.
You need to go to the toilet. Okay, can you wait? You want to go?
Yes.
Can you go by yourself?
Yes.
Okay, listen up. Don't play with your bag, okay? You promise me? Okay.
Unique also aims to explain to parents that there's nothing they could have done to prevent their child's rare chromosome disorder from happening. No environmental, dietary, workplace or lifestyle factors are known to cause these disorders.
By the time we saw the paediatrician, she was 1.5 years, and it is just labelled as, or she got her label of global developmental delay, which is actually no use to you as a mum whatsoever, because you're then left with all these questions. Well, did I do something wrong? Was it something wrong in the pregnancy? That glass of wine I had before I knew I was actually pregnant, did that, result in anything? And you take it, or I took it all on board myself. It's like, oh my God, it's me, I've done something wrong, I'm not this, I'm not that. And it was only until we saw paediatrician when she was 9 years old. You have yearly checks. So at one yearly check, it was like, well, is there anything we can get rather than just global developmental delay? Can we find out what is actually going on here? And this machine, the microarray machine, had been come into action, which looks at all the different genetic parts, the chromosomes in depth. So she went for the test, and at 9 years old, we found out that she was missing a tiny piece of her chromosome number 5, and that it's just led to just a complete different way of thinking about her, and not her, but her life, and how we make her life, her quality of living, how we make it good.
I think it was the loss of seeing Ellis disabled and not being able to do what she could do, of seeing other children that are able to walk around and do things on their own. So I think there was probably a bit of, was it us? And that's why we followed up with all the testing to try and identify whether it was a problem, and also if we wanted to have other children. So we took, must have been 3 or 4 years before we decided, right, we're at a stage now we can have another child. And Jamie coming along was wonderful, and her and Ellis have a wonderful relationship.
My name's Jamie and I'm 14 and I'm a sister to Ellis. I think other people's opinion is that they think she's different in a lot of ways, but she's not really. She's very special to the people close to her. You just need to get to know her a bit more.
The human body is incredibly complex. It's a marvel of biomechanical engineering. Although we might have no control over what happens to our chromosomes and genes, what we can control are all the things we can do to help unique kids live a great life and celebrate them being differently normal.